Led Zeppelin at their peak. Many critics and fans considered them the greatest rock band in history, surpassing even the Beatles in raw power, technical virtuosity, and commercial dominance. But their success came with a price few understood. Growing up in the middle of nowhere, my parents would crack open beers and light joints when the mood struck. That's when the Led Zeppelin records came out. 5-year-old me sat on carpet, impressed by wild guitar riffs, but agitated by blues-soaked wailing. Sesame Street was more my speed. Years later, stuck in a town perpetually frozen 30 years in the past, I heard Zeppelin dozens of times daily on local radio. You can't escape Kashmir when you're surrounded by people who think 1975 was last week. Eventually, Stockholm Syndrome by FM radio kicked in. What none of us knew was that Jimmy Page wasn't just playing music. According to researchers and longtime fans, he was performing actual rituals. On stage, in studios, at his home on Loch Ness, where Aleister Crowley once tried summoning demons. The idea of trading souls for musical genius goes back centuries. In 1713, Italian composer Giuseppe Tartini woke up sweating from a dream where the devil played violin so perfectly that Tartini wept. He frantically tried recreating what he'd heard, producing the Devil's Trill Sonata. Here's the thing. Tartini had only been playing violin for 3 years. 3 years, and suddenly he's composing pieces that trained virtuosos struggled with. Centuries later, Robert Plant told interviewers that Stairway to Heaven came to him in a dream. The song wrote itself, he said, just appeared fully formed. You starting to see a pattern here? Robert Johnson was a terrible guitarist. Everyone in the Mississippi Delta said so. The kid had no rhythm, no feel, no blues. He was spectacularly awful. When Johnson returned months later, he could play like his hands were possessed. The transformation was so impossible that other musicians spread a story. Johnson went to Crossroads at midnight, met the devil, traded his soul for guitar skills. The Crossroads legend comes from West African spiritual traditions where Papa Legba, a trickster spirit, guards where physical and spiritual worlds meet. But when African spirituality collided with Christian devil mythology, helpful trickster became Satan, and wisdom requests became soul transactions, cultural telephone, supernatural edition. Johnson died at 27, poisoned whiskey from a jealous husband. He died on hands and knees, bleeding from his mouth. Now, imagine you're a young British guitarist reading about Johnson, hearing the legend, not understanding the cultural context. You just hear, go to Crossroads, make deal, get everything you want. What happens when you recreate rituals, but don't understand what you're actually summoning? By the time Jimmy Page discovered Aleister Crowley, the Beast had been dead for years, but his influence was exploding. Crowley called himself the Beast, founded his own religion, claimed he could summon actual demons, not stage magic, real demons, the kind that tear reality apart if you're not careful. Born in 1875 to wealthy British parents, Crowley rejected Christianity completely. He joined the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, a secret society including William Butler Yeats and Arthur Conan Doyle. These weren't fringe lunatics. These were respected intellectuals playing with ancient forces they claimed were real. Crowley's philosophy, do what thou wilt, radical freedom, no rules, no limits, do whatever feels good. He died alone in 1947. Last words, sometimes I hate myself. But in the 1960s, that philosophy exploded among young people. Perfect for counterculture. Reject parents, reject society, reject rules. Sex, drugs, rock and roll. For most teenagers, Crowley was a vibe, a poster. For Jimmy Page, it became a 50-year obsession. James Patrick Page was born in 1944 in West London. Normal family, normal childhood. until age 8, when he found a guitar in a cupboard. Nobody knew where it came from. Not his parents, not their friends. It was just there. As if by magic, Page said later. Maybe he was being poetic, or maybe he already sensed something. At 15, he found Magic in Theory and Practice by Aleister Crowley. Yes, that's it, my thing, I found it, he'd say years later. Most kids that age are figuring out who they are. Page decided he was an occultist, studying dark forces. By 1968, when Led Zeppelin formed, Page was deep into it. He talked about magic in interviews, which was unusual. You cannot ignore evil if you study the supernatural as I do. I have many books and I've attended seances. I want to go on studying it. According to longtime fans and occult researchers, sometime after the band formed, Page proposed a serious ritual, the kind guaranteeing success, making them the biggest band in the world. But there were conditions. They couldn't speak about it afterward. In occult practice, certain rituals require absolute secrecy. Speaking breaks the spell or invites consequences. The ritual allegedly involved summoning ancient entities, not metaphorical forces, actual beings from other planes, advanced magic requiring years of study. 3 members allegedly agreed: Page, Plant, and Bonham. John Paul Jones refused.
Hello out there in internet land. I'm Lily, the editor at The Wise Wolf, and I just wanted to steal a moment of your time to urge you to subscribe to our god-awful channel. Otherwise, my professor is going to press charges for breaking into his office to shoot this clip. Thanks. Bye now.
Almost immediately, strange things started happening. Plant was nearly killed in a car accident. 2 weeks later, his Aston Martin fell on him while he worked underneath, breaking ribs. These weren't minor incidents. These were brushes with death. Maybe coincidence, maybe consequences of half-drunk musicians playing with forces they didn't understand. Or maybe something heard their call and answered. Page spent Zeppelin money on Crowley. He bought Boleskine House, Crowley's former home on Loch Ness, where Crowley performed the 6-month Abramelin operation to summon and bind demons. Things went very wrong there. During Crowley's time, his housekeeper lost both children within months, a 10-year-old daughter and 1-year-old son. No clear cause. Crowley claimed a worker went insane and tried murdering his family. Even Crowley admitted things got out of control. He abandoned the property. The next owner, an army major, shot himself within a year. Then Page bought it. Friends described shadows moving on their own at dusk. Servants quit immediately. The house was pure evil. Page owned it 22 years, but lived there less than 3 months total. In 2015, new owners returned from grocery shopping to find it engulfed in flames. Empty property. No electrical problems. No storm. Fire just started. Page didn't just study occult privately. He made it part of Zeppelin's identity. He performed in custom ritual robes, covered in occult symbols. The dragon suit, solid black, embroidered with his sigil, astrological symbols. Occult practitioners say these weren't costumes. They were ritual robes. Page was performing magic on stage nightly, using audience energy as fuel. On Led Zeppelin III vinyl, carved directly into the master. Do what thou wilt, and so mote it be. The first is pure Crowley. The second means, so may it be. But in Arabic, mote means death. These phrases spun on millions of turntables simultaneously. William S. Burroughs believed in electrical magic, using technology to amplify magical workings. A Crowley incantation playing in millions of homes, unprecedented scale. Then came Led Zeppelin I-5. No title, no band name, just 4 symbols. Page's was Zoso. Nobody knows what it means. Researchers trace it to medieval grimoires containing demon pact instructions. Page has refused explaining his sigil for 50 years. In chaos magic, speaking about activated sigils destroys their power or causes backfire. Plant says Page told him once when Plant was drunk. By morning, Plant forgot. When he asked again sober, Page refused repeating it. Speaking of curses, Kenneth Anger was making underground films when he met Page at a Crowley memorabilia auction. Anger asked Page to score Lucifer Rising. The title wasn't metaphorical. Anger believed his films were rituals. Page's heroin addiction was out of control. He missed deadlines, delivered 20 minutes when Anger paid for 40. The project collapsed. Page evicted Anger from Boleskine House. Anger publicly cursed Jimmy Page and Led Zeppelin. "I put the curse of King Midas on them. If you're greedy and amass gold, you'll get illness." Everything fell apart after that. Plant drove off a Greek cliff with family in the car. Everyone barely survived. Laryngitis took his voice before their biggest tour. When touring finally started, chaos erupted backstage. Bonham defended Peter Grant's son from assault. Later, Grant and roadies beat the attacker badly enough for felony arrest. Then Plant got the call. His 5-year-old son, Carrick, was sick. 2 hours later, another call. Carrick was dead. No medical explanation. Healthy 5-year-olds don't just die. On September 24th, 1980, Bonham showed up to rehearsal extremely drunk. They sent him upstairs to sleep. Someone checked, made sure he was positioned properly. Next morning, John Bonham was dead at 32. Led Zeppelin disbanded immediately. Did Page escape the curse? He's alive and wealthy, yes, but he hasn't written a significant song in 40 years. The magic stopped working. Whatever he tapped into went away. Kenneth Anger said directly, "He can't write songs anymore. I turned him into a statue of gold." John Paul Jones, who allegedly refused the original ritual, is the only member maintaining successful career. He's produced albums, composed symphonies. The 3 who participated: Plant lost his son. Bonham is dead. Page lost his ability to create. So what happened? Did 4 musicians perform rituals they didn't understand? Did they summon something demanding payment? Did Anger's curse collapse an already unstable magical working? The symbols are real. Rituals were documented. Boleskine burned twice. Children died with no medical explanation. Page admitted, "Magic does intrigue me. Magic of all kinds." What kind was he practicing? What was the real cost? These aren't rumors. These are documented facts. Interviews, property records, death certificates. The occult symbolism is carved into vinyl, worn on stage, built into album art. As someone who's been researching this stuff longer than I care to admit, and my editor Lily will tell you, I've gone down some deep rabbit holes. The evidence is sitting in plain sight. The only question is whether you're willing to connect the dots. Or maybe it's just rock and roll, and sometimes people die young and tragic, and we look for patterns where none exist. But that guitar, appearing in Page's cupboard when he was 8, that still gives me chills. Like and share this video to keep the wise wolf howling.